Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who watches my six, is Dr. Paul Thompson. Hello, Brother Paul. How are you?
I'm very good, Mr. Drew. It's good to talk to you today. We're going to have a good show. I like your shirt. It's very, very colorful.
Very colorful. It's because I'm sitting in front of that SR-71 Blackbird that I wanted to use last week when we did our Blackbird story, but we didn't get to do it then, so I'm doing it now. Let's start off with a quote, Dr. Paul. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. That's by Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. And I find that extremely true. If you work hard at something and you keep working at it, you're usually going to get it, don't you think?
Yeah. You got to do, at first you don't succeed, try again. I don't know who came up with that. Calvin Coolidge was a former president of the United States, for those who might be a little younger. Yeah, you've got to keep trying. You got to keep trying and not just give up the first time, especially if something's difficult. If it's hard, you know it's going to be hard, or you find it hard. Don't just stop because it's difficult. Everything can't be easy.
The truth is, good things don't come easy. If you don't work for it, it's usually not worth it. Dr. Paul, you know the name of our show today is How to Be a Badass Top Gun Navy Jet Attack Pilot. And the reason we're doing that is because you and I, Dr. Paul, are going to talk about something that you reminded me of. We were like astronauts when we first went to the ship. We had no idea what was going on. And the first time we landed an airplane on an aircraft carrier was an experience of a lifetime. Paul, you want to start off with this?
Yeah, I felt like, kind of like I was going into space. Most of my training up until that point had been in preparation of actually landing on a ship, even when you were a long way from the ship. Because you weren't near the beach or anything. Your base was in the middle of nowhere, right?
That's right.
We were in the middle of nowhere. There's no water. Where I was, there was water, in the Gulf of Mexico, but we didn't really operate over there. So when we finally went, it was like, wow, you're in the Navy, yeah, you're over water, you're over real water, but I'm used to just flying over, dirt, and it gives you a different perspective. What were your feelings when you were headed out to the ship, or when you were getting the brief? Tell them about the brief.
I guess I was in a daze, to be honest with you. We had FCLPs, which are field carrier landing practice, and Navy jets always land on this thing called the meatball. We have practiced this landing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But when that first brief came and we were actually going to go out to sea and see an aircraft carrier, and I think it is the first time I ever seen an aircraft carrier. And the first time I ever saw one, they all say it looked like a postage stamp. It looked smaller than a postage stamp.
Yeah.
But we were getting ready to do this, and I feel like I was trained, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was exciting as hell. It was like going to space, Paul.
Yeah. When they say, they're right. When they say it's the size of a postage stamp, it's smaller than a postage stamp. When you're not very high up, because that was a little ship. But I just remember sitting there and listening. The brief is like 2 hours, what you're going to do, and your mind's kind of all over the place. It's a foreign experience. I guess it would have helped to have had like some kind of a simulator or a game or something visual. There was nothing visual, just old footage from accidents. They showed you an accident. They showed you airplanes crashing and flames and stuff like that, what not to do. And it looked like something from a King Kong movie of 1931. Not the greatest quality. but there was really
No.
nothing to look at. So you were basically depending on what your instructors told you to do and what everyone had been telling you to do up until that point. But you really, in some ways, you had a lot of preparation, but you had no preparation. You had no visual preparation for what you're going to see. It's kind of like being on Star Trek and being beamed down to a planet, which might be a hostile planet, but you got to deal with it. But you're with a bunch of other people who are in the same adventure because no one has actually seen anything.
No, and what happens is you're with all these guys who are in exactly the same position you are. We're
Okay.
flying T2 Buckeyes and we're by ourselves and we go out in formation. Do you remember when you flew out to the ship the first time?
Yeah, yeah. You're with a group of other people. Everybody's in their own airplane.
So we flew out in a formation of four. It took a while to get to the ship. And it was just a trip because you're flying formation and you're just, I guess your mind is somewhere else, but you know that this is it. This is what you've trained for. What happened the first time you saw that ship?
First time I saw the ship, I remember we kind of flew over, we broke up, and the airplanes fly together and they separate because you got to do everything one at a time. And your assignment is basically to fly in the carrier pattern and to do, as I recall, I think it was a couple of touch and goes. The hook was up and we did everything normally. But what's strange to me is when I made the turn, is what I was looking for. I was looking for the landing area, but it was like 30 degrees farther off than I thought it would be. When you're at the back of the ship, you're not necessarily lined up with the landing area. So it was a strange sight picture the first time or first few times.
And you know what they say, Paul? They said they took heart readings from Navy pilots and that your heart is beating faster coming aboard the ship than it was in battle, and actually real battle, dropping bombs, shooting rockets. It was actually your heart actually beat faster when you were coming aboard a ship. I
That's
remember this, Paul. So we came in and we broke over the ship. This is my story. I'm not kidding. I'm from Harlem, and this is what happened. We broke over the ship. We put our flaps down. We put our gear down. We put everything down. And here I come, ready to land on the ship. So, what you do in the Navy to go down, you don't use your nose. You actually use power. So, you pull power to go down, you push power to go up because you keep the same attitude. And the reason you do that is so that the hook will stay under the airplane so it'll catch the actual wire on the aircraft carrier. Well, the very first time I came down, this left hand, Paul, would not pull the power back. And I am actually pushing my nose down over to try to get that meatball. But
uh,
for some reason, this left hand does not want to pull power. It does not want to go down. And the very first time I did an approach to the ship, the LSOs, which are landing signal officers, they were saying, "Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I do. Let me go around once," because I was getting out of position. I did not want to go down to that ship and put that airplane on it. That was the very first approach I had. How about yours?
it worked out okay. What I remember is the strange thing was the first one was a touch and go, but the sensation of landing on the deck of a ship, it was different than touching down on concrete, which is what I'd done before. It was different. It had kind of a hollow feel to it. I mean, you can't hear anything, but it just felt different when the airplane came down. Survive that, I think we did the two of them, and if things go well, they'll say, give your side numbers, 405, drop your hook.
That's right.
I mean, you could have like a drum roll with that.
You might
It's
as well, because it's for
yeah,
real now.
now you're going to attempt an actual arrested landing, as they call it.
Yep.
And did the same thing. Long story short, it worked out. And the thing is, another thing, then when you went to it, this is really like being beamed down on the ship. I won't talk too long on it. But after made my approach, landed the first time, okay, then you pull the power back and they pull you back. Now I'm actually on the deck of a ship. now I am on in Star Trek. You had these guys in different shirts. They're running around, like ants. They have yellow shirts. And what did you see when you landed the first time?
Wow, that first trap was incredible. The tug on you, they say that when you get caught on an aircraft carrier, especially at night, that feeling's almost as good as sex. I'll tell you what, it blew my mind when I first got caught because they teach you as soon as you touch down, you got to go full power. Because if the hook skips or you miss the wire, you go back around.
Right.
So the very first time I came down and I got caught, I'm at full power, and guys are out there going, pull your power back, pull your power back, pull your power back. And I pulled it back. Now, Paul, I don't know about you, but taxiing the airplane the first time on the ship was amazing. And what was even more amazing was our first catapult shot. I'm going to let you do it first, Paul. Remember they tacked you to the cat? Because this is
Yeah.
there is no practice for this. There's
Right.
no practice for this. You're getting put on a spacecraft now because you're about to get shot off into the world. Tell me
Yeah.
about your first cat shot.
Yeah. That's a good analogy because basically your cat shot, it's a slingshot, but you're the pebble in the slingshot, and this is different. So you follow procedures, and they hook you up, and you're ready to go. You figure out in the end of the ship, from where you are to the end of the ship, it's not very far. And I'm like, how are we going to get fast enough to go? Because you've been taking off on land forever, for years, whatever. Now this is going to happen in what, 150 feet, and it does. And it's a big kick, and all of a sudden, you're airborne in about 2 seconds or so, and the airplane's flying.
Yes.
Really. And then you do it again and do it again. I think you had to do four initially. And my day was a perfect day. Perfectly calm sea, bright and sunny. Couldn't have been better.
What was the most dangerous part? Because you were an instructor you actually taught how other students how to land on an aircraft carrier after you came out of the fleet. What was the most dangerous part of that?
Most dangerous part was when it was over, because I would take guys out to the boat, called the boat at the time. During the brief, I gave the brief, and it was about a couple of 2 hours. I could see the looks on their faces, and they had the same looks that everyone does, like, what is going to happen? So I kind of knew what was going through their mind. And the thing that I briefed all the time, most important thing is everything's going to go good today. But when it's all done and you've passed, when you join up to rendezvous, because you come as a group, you leave as a group. When the group gets back together, pay attention to when you join up on me and don't slam into me or don't, because God, they forget about formation. They're so happy. So and so, you're a qual, happy as they've ever been in their life. And sometimes they're coming at you and they're not thinking about anything. They're coming at a missile. So to keep the problem going, I say, like, I would talk to them. I said, slow down, watch out. I did that a couple of times. That was a brief item because everybody's so happy, so overjoyed. Sometimes your basic flight discipline might take a vacation for a few minutes. And it was the most dangerous part was the rendezvous afterwards, not the carrier. That's my experience.
Well, when my first trip out to the boat, I actually got it down. I didn't make it. And they didn't tell me I was qualled. So I had to fly all the way back wondering if I made it. I made all my traps. I did all my touch and goes, but I think that very first one was not very safe. No, it was safe, but I don't think they liked it at all. And so I had to go back and do it again. And the good part about doing something again, it was so much better when I knew what that ship looked like, when I knew what to expect, when I got that cat shot. That was a kick in the ass. This Tesla that I want to buy this Cybertruck, and they say it goes from 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. Well, we went from 0 to 130 in 2.2 seconds. So
Yes.
that was a kick in the ass. And you know what, Paul? We'll wait for another show and we'll talk about our first night carrier landings.
Okay.
All right, let's go with some good news here. Do you believe that there's a northern city in Japan that just passed a law that you have to smile at least once a day? Once a day, you must smile. It's a law that they just put out. And the reason they put out this law is, let me explain this to you. Laughter boosts immunity and lowers stress, which makes people less prone to illness and more capable of overcoming obstacles. In addition, laughing actually activates organs, produces endorphins, lowers stress hormones, relieves pain, and burns calories. But the best thing about laughter, I think it's the cure for everything because it makes you feel good. And that's where those endorphins come in. So once a day, you must laugh. Then they have a day of the week that's a laughing day. And then once a year on 8/8, uh, that's the date, 8/8. And that's because in Japanese, they say it sounds like a laugh. It's a laughing day a year. Paul, tell me about you laughing and what happens if you don't laugh?
Well, you don't laugh that you're missing out on a lot of life. Can't just be angry and intense all the time. Yeah, it's a law to laugh. Suppose you break the law, what do they do?
Well, actually, they don't do anything. And the big reason that they want to do this is it is studied. They did a study of 18,000 people, and it showed that cardiovascular disease went way down with people who laughed. How about that?
That's good. That's great. That's great. Northern Japan, it's not heavily populated, but that's a good thing where people can take it easy. If you look at a lot of tropical areas where folks move at kind of a slower pace, they take things easier. They look they look healthier, and they usually are healthier, and they tend to laugh more. They tend to be more relaxed, more pleasurable. You've seen that in the Caribbean, I've seen that in South America, I've seen that in Africa, where I've been, and it helps you. So yeah, laugh, see some good things in life. Doesn't have to be at someone's expense, but a good joke every once in a while is worth passing on.
You know something I just thought about, Paul? I love telling jokes. And just as good as laughing is making other people laugh. I feel so good when I make other people laugh. When I was public speaking and the crowd started laughing at me, my daughter would always say, "Stop laughing at him because he won't stop. This will be an HBO special."
That's right. That's true. He won't stop. I can attest to
You
that.
can attest to that.
I can attest to that. Your
Well,
daughter's
guess what
right.
else? Mr. Beast, we did him last show. Mr. Beast, who has 320 million views on YouTube, he has the most of anybody. He has a friend named Mark Roper. Well, him and Mark, believe it or not, got together and they wanted to clean up the ocean. I'm going to actually read something to you. Fundraising, volunteering, awareness raising, and various forms of digital content like videos and video games from over 200 countries and territories all work together on the internet to help Team C's website. And that's the website. For every dollar that you donated, they took a pound of garbage out of the ocean. And you know what, Paul? They actually had 40,000 social channels working this. And they just took off 34 million pounds of garbage out of the ocean. They raised $34 million, and for every dollar was a pound. How about that one?
That's tremendous. Polluting the world's oceans is more of a crisis for the whole planet. The fact that he's able to do that. He does a lot of stuff. Last time we were talking about the homes he built for essentially homeless people throughout the Caribbean and South America and Mexico. I guess he likes these challenges. Like I said, I used to hear about Mr. Beast. I guess he's the number one YouTuber and a big time internet marketer. All these folks who talk about Mr. Beast this, Mr. Beast that. And,
Oh, you know what else he did? I just saw this. He did $1 million challenge. He put $1 million cash in a circle of people around it, and the last one to leave the circle kept that $1 million.
the last
And
one,
they
what
videoed it.
they got like they got to fight each other? How do they
No,
mean the last
no,
one?
it's just when you couldn't make when you had to go to the bathroom, when you had to get up, you
Oh,
had to
really?
leave at a certain point. The last one who did it got the $1 million. Well, that is Mr. Beast for you. And Mr. Beast, thank you for helping all these people with your notoriety. Because that's something good. When somebody has something and they help others, we love that here. All right,
Yeah.
check out these badass jets we got. I have the SR-71 Blackbird. and Paul has an F-16, an Air Force F-16. You want to say anything about that F-16?
It's just a one of the Thunderbirds. I saw this photo. I thought it was nice. They don't
It's a
normally
pretty picture.
have that color scheme, but yeah, one of the Thunderbirds of the show.
And you look good right in front of it too, Dr. Paul.
Well,
All
thank
right,
you.
everybody. Thank you so much for all of your views on YouTube. Thank you for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, watching us on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so, so much, all of our viewers out there. And we have a newsletter. You can get it on our website, wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. And our newsletter this week is So You Want to Fly? How to Become a Pilot. You want to do what Dr. Paul and I do? You want to go out to the carrier one day? Well, read this newsletter and that'll start you off. And on our newsletter, you can ask us a question, any question you want. And I have a question for us this week. And it comes from a Navy veteran, a 68-year-old Navy veteran who served on the USS Nimitz 1979 and 1983, and I got on the Nimitz in 1983. So we just missed each other. And he's based out of Norfolk, Virginia. Now he's retired and lives in Fairfax, Virginia. His question is, I have 3 siblings and nobody will help me take care of our father who is 96 years old. I need a break or I'm going to break. I heard one of your shows and it sounded like you guys might have some experience with this. Can you help me out? And you two wingmen keep floating and keep stinging. I love it, Paul. Why don't you go with this? Because you did take care of your mom in the house, and that was a wonderful thing.
Yeah. She lived with us for almost 5 years, and I guess I was in a better situation than this gentleman. She wasn't quite as old, and she was mobile the entire time, except when she, finally got sick. I mean, really towards the end. So that's a blessing too, to be moving. So in terms of that kind of care, she didn't really require that level of care. Like I see where you're coming from, although with my wife's family, it was a little different situation, and we were in that situation. So you've got 3 other siblings, and they're not doing anything. Again, I was an only child, so I can't relate to that aspect of it. But I've heard other folks say that, and I even know of cases where you've got multiple siblings. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. It is usually one that picks up the mantle that does everything. Sounds like you need a break from your sincere question, as I put out a couple weeks ago. I just made this up, but who cares for the caregiver when the caregiver is the one that really needs the care? So
Yeah.
that's you do need a break. So I knew the question was coming up, so I did a little researching. You're in Fairfax, and maybe we can put it up, but there are several like online resources you can look at. We can maybe we can put up the web address and we stick something in the newsletter.
What do you think he should say to his siblings? What do you think he should do? Because I agree with you. He needs help. And those online websites that will give will help him. But what should he say to his siblings? And you got to know, maybe his siblings are old and can't take care of themselves.
That could be. Well, if there are 4 of them, one thing they can do is they could chip in financially, because I bet these things are not totally free. So, you can divide it by 4 and basically, hey, I need some money. This is what we need to do for dad. And, here's what you need to contribute. Period. End of story. See how it goes. And use some of those online resources. There are a bunch of them in the Fairfax area. What's your experience with that, Drew?
Well, my wife, Katrina, has an 89-year-old mother right now, and we put her in a retirement home, well, with nursing care. It depends on the type of parent you have also. If they're very easy to get along with and there's no mental dementia or all that, that makes it a lot easier. We have a friend who has a 97-year-old mother, and she is perfect. I mean, she can talk, she can do everything. She needs a little help physically, but she's really easy to take care of. On the other hand, Katrina's mom is not so easy to take care of. Physical problems. So we had to put her in a retirement place right around us. We brought her here and we put her in a retirement place, and we go see her as much as possible. and Katrina spends a lot of time with her. But I will tell you this. I'm going to tell you that, Paul, by you taking care of your mom, you will get paid back a lot. And for this gentleman here, don't worry. Do what's right. Do what you're supposed to do, not what you want to do, until what you're supposed to do becomes what you want to do, and then do what you want to do. Keep taking care of your dad, and maybe the big guy upstairs will take care of you. A Wingman PSA. From the 11 facts in life, under fact number 10, if you can't help change your friends, then change your friends. Once again, if you can't help change your friends, then change your friends. Paul, the first time I came up with that saying, well, I actually didn't come up with it, but I used it a lot. I actually said, if you can't change your friends, change your friends. And then somebody really told me something, and I won't forget it. You can't change anybody. You can give them suggestions. And that's why I said, if you can't help change your friends, change your friends. Right. Dr. Paul, you know the name of this show is The Wingmen Show. And that's because we have a wingman every week. And I think you have a great wing person this week. Why don't you tell us about him?
Yes, well, Commander Drew, this week's wingman is a lady named Emma Patterson. She's 88 years old. And she's not in a nursing home, and she doesn't really need care. She's actually the caregiver. Miss Patterson has been recognized by the government officials of Montgomery County, Maryland, for her selfless service in fostering 40 children over her life. She got into the foster care system actually after being divorced herself. She had two children, at least two children, and they would bring kids home who needed help, and she helped them. And one thing led to another, and all of a sudden she's helping babies, infants. Oftentimes they're born to drug-addicted parents and can't go home with those drug-addicted parents, and she would take care of them. Well, apparently this went on for a long time, because there's some pictures, and we'll show them, of some of these kids who were not kids anymore. Sometimes they would stay for a while. Other times they'd stay from infants to adulthood. They'd be living with her. And if you see the pictures of them, you'll see genuine happiness. You wouldn't say these are foster kids or kids who have been abused or mistreated, but they look like just happy people. So she must be a wonderful person. She's still upright, and she has contributed to her community.
She made a comment, Paul. I'm very proud of all these children, because they just all turned out to be wonderful human beings. And you remember, Paul, I said God will take care of you because you took care of your mom. Well, imagine what God's going to do for this woman. Yes. She raised 40 children that were not her own. And what she gave them, and what I believe she gave them to make them these wonderful people, she gave them love. And I think that's what you really need to give a child. You need to give a child love, and you need to let them know that they can be anything they want to be, and you are supportive of them. Everybody out there who can hear my voice, thank you so much for listening and watching us. And anything that you think is beautiful, anything you think is important, and whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Mr. Drew. And to all those who listen, like, and share our message, we appreciate you. Please become a subscriber. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get a notification when we have a new show come online. And pass this on to somebody you know. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN Show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.